Today we're going to be starting a new culinary adventure. We're going to be making focaccia, the Italian flatbread. As usual, we'll be using fruit yeast water, which is our leavening agent of choice these days. There's a link below in the description box on how to make it and why you should try it. Now, focaccia. It's crisp on the outside and chewy on the inside. Just as a note, this is a long fermented bread dough, so there are parts where we leave it to rest overnight and then after that for several hours. So we spend less time working on the dough and more time on sleeping properly, letting the dough ferment. This is also a no-knead dough, so in summary, no hard work lies on the road ahead, just a lazily comfortable cruise to good bread. So what do we need to prepare to make it? First off, most focaccia recipes call for some good olive oil, and this recipe is no different. Next up, bread flour. So make sure you're using a high-protein flour, no all-purpose flour. Since this is a long fermented dough, we'll be leaving it overnight, which makes it even more important to use bread flour. Then have at hand salt, water, and whatever toppings you like. So whatever's in season, available, or just to your own tastes. Make it yours. And there you have it. You're ready to start making focaccia. So let's dive headfirst into our Poolish. So this needs to be made 10 to 18 hours ahead of our bread dough. This Poolish will be what imparts a ripe flavor and softer texture to our focaccia. It's an easy step that has great benefits. So for this recipe, as usual, I'll just take 100 grams of bread flour and the same amount of yeast water. This is tomato yeast water, by the way. I found them to be pretty excellent for bread. They look great too, so that's a plus. Okay, now I'll just combine them together thoroughly until it's entirely homogeneous. So I'll just beat it using this motion until it turns sticky and very liquid. Shouldn't take too long and it makes for a great arm workout. Once it looks like this, we're done and there is nothing more to do other than cover it in plastic and wait for 10 to 18 hours before using. If you want, you could also put it in the fridge and it'll remain usable for up to 2 days later. So you can make this Poolish days ahead of your bread. Hours have passed. I'm now going to check the Poolish. What I'm looking for is a slightly concave downward surface, since that would mean the yeast have completely slowed carbon dioxide production, and that means that they've consumed most of the food in the flour, so they should be clamoring voraciously for more. This looks like it's reached that state, the perfect state to mix into our bread dough. To make our bread dough, we require 150 grams of bread flour, 100 milliliters of water, 5 milliliters of olive oil, and 2 grams of salt. In a large mixing bowl, we now bring in our Poolish. Now, it's not enough just to let the Poolish slide in. Make sure to scrape the sides of the bowl as well. You can also use a portion of the water to clean it up too. We want every last piece of this Poolish. That's just how delicious it makes the bread taste. Then, throw in the bread flour. And start adding in the water gradually while mixing with your spatula. Continue this until you've run out of water. It should conclude looking like this. Since it's a high hydration bread dough, it's going to be sticky and liquid-like. That's entirely fine. Okay, now pick up your oil and tip it into your dough. Again, using your spatula to incorporate it in. Finally, we chuck in our salt. And that looks superb. So it's time for us to transfer it to a new bowl, which I've coated with light and even layer of olive oil. Alright, so let gravity help the dough along and scrape the remains with your spatula. Once it has been completely moved over to the new bowl, we close over it with a layer of plastic and leave it for 45 minutes. Right, it's been 45 minutes, we're back with the dough, and this time we'll be folding it just like origami, but liquid slime. That doesn't make sense, but let's just continue on. So, if you've watched my video on ciabatta, then it's basically the same folding technique from there. You start with an easy fold like this from one side, then go around and do it for each side. One fold on each side, a total of 4 folds per round. If you feel like you didn't do a fold on one side properly or just want to make sure it's been properly folded, you can do 2 rounds of folding, so 1 fold on each side for 2 rounds. That's all there is to it. After this first comprehensive folding process, we leave it to rest for 45 minutes before folding again, and then repeat that 2 more times. So 4 folding processes in total with a 45-minute rest between each. This method of stretching and folding over helps the gluten structure develop, so we can trap all those carbon dioxide bubbles that the yeast produce and get a fluffy focaccia. Once you've done the final folding, we will again leave it for 45 minutes. And here we are. The 45 minutes are over. We are now in the last stretch. We're going to be baking immediately after this part. It's going to be chewy and yummy, and I just can't wait. So prepare your baking pan or tray. This is a square 23 centimeter non-stick cake pan. We'll now brush its surface with some olive oil. Distribute the oil as evenly as you can, making sure the entire thing is properly coated. Slide your dough out of the bowl and onto the pan. This is where I'll be giving the focaccia dough its classic appearance by dimpling its surface with my fingers. This isn't only for appearances though, this process further evens out the dough and also lets it bake faster. When making these indentations, make sure you're pushing your fingers in all the way until you touch the bottom of the pan. It may look deep now, but when it's baked, they'll appear a lot less so. Then I'm going to top the focaccia with tomatoes. Drizzle it with olive oil. For the herbs, aside from the flowers, I'll be dipping them into some olive oil first before I place them on the focaccia. For a little bit of a local touch, I'll add in some lemon basil, celery, and beautiful butterfly pea flowers, picked fresh from the garden. Then, let's sprinkle in some fancy Himalayan salt. Drizzle it with olive oil. Again, aim for an even covering. And that's it. So now it's a feast for your eyes before it's a feast for your taste buds. Although I should say these flowers are going to shrink under heat and they won't look so great after. However, they just taste absolutely wonderful on top of the focaccia. Right, now we're done with that, let's preheat our oven to 230 degrees Celsius. Once it's all heated up, let's grab our focaccia and off into our oven it goes. So for 25 minutes, bake at 230 degrees Celsius on top and bottom heat. The result is a scrumptious, delectable delight, and it should come out of the pan easily without much struggle. Okay, that's it for today. Thanks for watching, and if you like this video, don't forget to click the thumbs up button below, comment, and subscribe. Bye!